What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of Club and Country. This is episode number 55. We started this with a draw for the Carabao Cup quarter-final, as you can see, into the last eight for the first time in the save, and we've got Everton away at Goodison Park, coming on the back of our win on penalties over Stoke City. So look at fixtures for November. As you can see, Leeds at home, the Baggies, who came with us last season, away at the Hawthorns, Leicester at home, and Chelsea away at Stamford Bridge. Our second trip to West London, our fourth and final game of today's episode. And a scouting update and an academy as well. I found this guy in the academy, looks pretty decent to be fair, through the scouting I should say. Dylan Roberts, put him straight in my academy. 64 overall to begin with. And you might notice now, I'm not just being selective with the players that have high potential, but also with their overalls as well. If we find a player and he's got like 30 to 50 as his overall range, then obviously, you know, the overall is most likely to be around 40. And even if his potential is like 80 to 94, unfortunately, it's going to take him far too long to get to that range. So for me now, I have to be as selective as it comes. We are now 5 seasons in to this career mode. We cannot pick up players if they have a low starting overall. And I mentioned it before, I really wish that in future versions of FIFA, you can basically tell your scout, look, don't give me any players that are under 50 overall, for example, because they'll just take far too long to develop. Because I feel as though if you're managing like a really, really big club, or your club was like one of the European giants, for example, the likelihood is they're not going to find you players in their scouting system that have an incredibly low overall. They're going to find you the better prospects because, well, first of all, they're better scouts and they have better resources, but they're looking for a caliber of player that could one day make it. A scout's not going to give a recommendation to a Real Madrid, for example, and say, well, this kid's pretty rubbish, but you never know. Like, it's not going to happen, is it? But hey, one of those things, who knows, in future versions of FIFA, that might well change. Still, first game of today's episode, Leeds United at Rodney Parade. After 3 straight wins in the Premier League, I was feeling confident. And early on into the game, well, you knew it was going to happen. Dan James, 3rd goal for Newport County, signed from Leeds United in the summer. And it just always seems to happen, mainly in Football Manager, but also in FIFA as well. A player scoring against his former team. Dan James gets his 3rd of the year. Then Rabi gets his 10th of the season already. Can you believe it? Going for back-to-back golden boots. And in the Premier League for the first time, trying to get it. And oh my goodness, 22 minutes in, guys, I couldn't wait for you to see this goal. Gavin Humphreys has been absolutely exceptional in this little mini run. Scored a hat-trick, his first in pro football against the Red Devils. Guys, I'm going to be totally honest here. This was a X button pass. Ravi with the through ball, Humphreys in behind, and oh, it's the coolest finish I think I've done in FIFA 22. Close those legs, Radu. Nat right through him, bottom corner. And again, I'll say it, that was an X button pass. I don't know what it is, but when you're going through one-on-one, if you smack it and you're so close to the goalkeeper, they tend to react quicker for some strange reason. Defy the laws of physics, but when you just gradually stroke it like that, you have more of a chance of finding the back of the net. So I feather touched the X button and it went through the legs of Radu and into the bottom corner. It's one of my favourite goals in this year's FIFA, and I mean that as well. You might think a simple one-on-one finish, but no, it's the way it happened. It looks so cool. So as Matondo makes it 4 in the second half, we are on absolute fire in this game against Marco Bielsa's boys. Unfortunately, with half an hour to go, we would concede a penalty. One of those accidental collisions, couldn't do much about it. But Arthur Corral has a chance to get Leeds back in the game, but Webb says no. Ball don't lie, saves the penalty, turns it behind for a corner, and we still lead by 4 in South Wales. And of course, in the shootout in the week, it was Price who made 4 saves in 6 penalties. Webb was sitting there thinking, well, if I want to stay in goal since I've come back, I've got to perform. I've got to prove I can save penalties as well. He does there, keeps it at 4-0. Then makes a save from the following corner, and from the second corner in succession, the through toss whips it in, but it drops all the way to Joe Rodham at the back stick, and our former Swansea centre-half is away. Former Swansea and Spurs centre-half is away down the right-hand side. Wisely holds it up, realises he doesn't have the pace, finds Ruben Colwill, back to Gavin Humphreys, back to Ruben Colwill, back to Gavin Humphreys, into Rabi Matondo, and it's a glorious little move as Rabi wraps it up and makes it Newport County 5, Leeds United 0, with his 2nd hat-trick of the season already, and goal number 12. Rabi Matondo. The bookies are already thinking about suspending odds on him becoming the Golden Boot winner this year. He is on absolute flames to start the season off. as a Newport County. 4 straight wins in the Premier League, back-to-back wins, 6 games undefeated now. And we're finally getting a foothold in what had been a tough start to the season as we accept these 2 bids for Lewis Collins, one of only 2 Newport County originals still here. He looks like he's on his way in the January transfer window. But yeah, 4 straight wins for Newport County, 6 games without a loss, and now in the top 10. We had such a poor start to the season. 1 win in 6, that was on the opening day. Then no wins in 5. We were leaking goals left, right and centre, but now back-to-back clean sheets. Finally, we've got the foothold, and I've talked about it before. Sometimes you just need to be persistent. Sometimes you need to be determined and resilient as well. Times can be really tough, guys. You know, every now and then things are going to be incredibly difficult. That goes for FIFA Career Mode and life as well. But you got to be resilient, man. You got to keep on going. You got to be persistent. You got to keep on believing that better days are going to come. If you put the work in, you've always got that chance of turning it around. I talk about it many times. That's just how the most successful people can get to the very top. Progress in time, we talked about in the last episode, they're not always linear. You will have struggling patches, and again, that goes for many different aspects of life, including FIFA Career Mode at times. But even so, finally now, after a tough start to the season, we are in good form for the first time all campaign long. So for our second game, obviously, so the Baggies here right now sitting in the bottom 3. They came up with us, runners up last season in the championship season that we won, and taking them on away, I felt very confident, but I just couldn't take the chances. I had several of them. And I mean, this is the worst miss of them all. 10 minutes to go, you can see why Humphreys was so frustrated, as was I. Somehow failed to hit the target there and drilled the shot way wide the post in what was eventually a goalless draw against West Bromwich Albion. So, missed opportunity there. And of course, it's 3 straight clean sheets. And for a team that started off with the worst defensive record in the division at the beginning, it's good to know we've picked it up in that regard. We have now started to defend much better. But that was a game we definitely should have been winning. And if we want to stay in the top 10, we can't afford those sort of slip-ups. So following that, Collins is going to go in the January transfer window, and also 2 international friendlies here as well, which of course we simulated both. I mentioned before, we won't play the international friendlies, we'll quick sim them. A couple of you have asked me, you know, since the feature was introduced to FIFA last year, would you ever consider simming the match where you see it in 2D? And of course, as you know, you can jump in if you like, or skip to the end. You know, since the feature's been introduced to this year's to last year's FIFA, I have had a few comments from you guys saying, would you ever sim the matches? And it's a really great feature. Like, don't get me wrong, it's really cool. I've used it in a couple of personal career mode tests I've done. But I don't think I'd ever do it myself. With the quick sim, it gets those international friendlies out of the way straight away. So there's less things that take up the time in the episode, because let's be honest here, international friendlies or key Premier League games, we know what's far more important. But it's a cool feature. I just can't imagine there'll be a time where it's beneficial for me to use it. But it's a great addition from EA though, I will say. I think a lot of people use it now, and I think it's a really cool thing added into the game. But still, third game, obviously, on the back of the international break here, Leicester City, Brendan Rodgers' side coming to take us on, and oh my goodness gracious me, we were 2-0 up inside the first half an hour. And was it a real surprise who got our first 2 goals? Gavin Humphreys and Ravi Matondo, our dynamic duo, who also link up for another golden chance 30 minutes in, which is taken by the top scorer of the division. These 2 are unbelievable. And it's why when Real Madrid put that bid in the summer for Matondo, I told you, we wouldn't accept it, even if it was $500 million, because he's right now the best Welsh player on the planet. So of course we're not going to sell him. He makes it free. We're absolutely in control in the first half an hour, and a few minutes later he gets another and his second hat-trick in 3 games and his 3rd hat-trick in the season overall. He's on fire, as is that man Gavin Humphreys, but as are Newport County. We are on absolute flames right now as we look to extend our unbeaten run here against the Foxes, but we're also doing it on the other end as well. I talked about it, a clean sheet there against the Baggies, extending our little streak of games without a goal conceded to 3. And this is a chance to make it 4 in a row. Webb made an incredible save towards the end of the first half, and again the defense has picked up just as much as the offense has. And with 7.5 minutes to go, and when you're feeling it, you can do things like this. Cross whipped into the middle, Ravi pokes the ball up in the air to himself with the first touch, and then the volley as well for his 4th of the game. He scored with every single shot in our second 5-0 victory in 3 games. The Foxes hunted down 5-0 the final score. Newport County are on absolute fire right now. A big win there has moved us in to the European places. We're just under a third of the way through the season. Our trip to Stamford Bridge in the following game in West London, we're in a Europa League spot. And if we were to win this game, we could go in to the top 4. So last season, when we had Chelsea in the FA Cup last 16, I fielded a mix of fringe and first 11 players because I wasn't really fussed, because all that mattered to me was promotion to the Premier League. But now we're here, now we're in the top tier, now we're on absolute fire for the first time this season. I felt confident. I believed that I could win this game and not just draw it. We've already had 2 scalps this season against Spurs and the Red Devils. Why not a third and our first on the road? Well, 24 minutes in, Humphreys was denied from a shot from range. It was still 0-0. But then 10 minutes later, a golden chance to take the lead. Once again, our dynamic duo linking up. It's Rabbi to Gavin, going through one-on-one and smacks it past Mike into the far corner. And it was at this very moment where I started to believe we can literally do anything. I started the season off, the board said mid-table. That was my ambition as well, possibly sneak into the top 10 with some good form. But now I'm starting to think, with Humphreys on fire, with Matondo leading the race for the Golden Boot, with our defence tightening up like crazy, and looking for our 5th straight clean sheet in a row, why can't we be a European team next season? 18 minutes to go. Gavin bags his brace. Chelsea 0, Newport County 2. 3rd scalp of the season already. And Humphreys and Rabbi are leading this team into a European place. Final score 2-0. 13 games in. It's our longest unbeaten stretch of the season. It's our longest clean sheet stretch of the season. And Newport County, for the first time, are in the top 4. Now, there's a third of the way to go. I'm not going to get... Sorry, 2/3 of the way to go. I'm not going to get too excited, but this has been one heck of a run. And if we can close out the first half of the season in December and still be in a European place, let's just say we'll be dreaming of European football next season. That will end this Club Country, guys. Big thank you for showing European Country like. Most of you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you for next week featuring massive games in the race for a European place. We don't slow down very soon.